Sometimes in life, we ignore red flags because we want to see the best in people or we believe love will change them. But the truth is, words reveal a person's mindset, their character, and the way they value you. There are certain things a man can say that should never be overlooked. If you hear them, you must recognize them for what they are, warnings, and have the strength to walk away immediately. Words are not just sounds. They are not just random expressions that pass from someone's lips into the air. Words are the clearest window into a person's mind and heart. When someone speaks, they reveal their thoughts, their beliefs, their values, and most importantly, the way they see you. You can learn more about a person's true character by listening to what they say than by watching almost anything else. Actions are important, yes, but words expose intentions long before actions do. In relationships, it is easy to dismiss harmful words. People often say, "Oh, he didn't mean it," or "he was just angry," or "he said it in the heat of the moment." But here's the truth: anger doesn't create new beliefs. It only exposes what's already hidden inside. The words that slip out during arguments are often the most honest ones because they come from a place without filters. If he says something cruel, degrading, or dismissive, don't brush it off as a mistake. It's not just a mistake, it's a message. He is showing you who he really is, and it's your responsibility to listen. For example, if he tells you, "You're nothing without me," what does that reveal? It reveals that he doesn't see you as an equal, but as someone who is dependent on him, someone who cannot survive without his presence. That's not love, it's control. A man who truly values you will remind you of your strength, your independence, and your ability to thrive on your own. But a man who belittles you with words is telling you that he needs you to feel small in order for him to feel big. That's his character speaking. Consider also the phrase, "Nobody else will ever want you." On the surface, it may sound like insecurity or jealousy, but beneath the surface, it's manipulation. It's a verbal chain designed to lock you in place. By saying those words, he is trying to control your choices by filling you with fear. He wants you to believe that you are unworthy of love outside of him. That's not affection, it's psychological imprisonment. His words reveal that he doesn't care about your confidence or your happiness. He only cares about control. Again, his character is speaking louder than his promises or apologies. You see, the dangerous thing about ignoring words is that they plant seeds. The first time he says something cruel, you may get angry, but then forgive him. The second time, you may feel hurt, but convince yourself he didn't mean it. By the third or fourth time, the words start to sink in. They start shaping how you see yourself. That's how emotional damage begins. Not through one big blow, but through repeated small cuts. Every negative word is a cut to your self-esteem. And over time, those cuts leave scars that are hard to heal. That is why you must take words seriously. If someone consistently uses words to belittle, threaten, or control you, you don't need to wait for physical actions to confirm the truth. The truth is already in their speech. Words are proof enough. Because love speaks differently. Love speaks with kindness, encouragement, and respect. Even in moments of disagreement, true love doesn't destroy, it seeks to understand. So when you hear words that strip away your dignity, don't excuse them. Don't say, "He was just upset." Don't say, "He didn't mean it." Believe what you hear, because words reveal true character. And once someone shows you who they are with their words, it's up to you to believe them and act accordingly. Never underestimate the power of words. They are the reflections of a person's soul. And when those reflections show disrespect, control, or abuse, it is your sign to leave immediately. Manipulation is one of the most dangerous forms of control in a relationship, and it often doesn't start with physical actions. It begins with words. One of the most common manipulative tactics is when a man tells you, "Nobody else will ever want you." At first, those words might sound like an expression of frustration or even jealousy, but if you listen carefully, you will realize they are not spoken out of love. They are designed to plant insecurity deep inside of you. Let's break this down. When someone says, "Nobody else will ever want you," what they're really saying is, "You are lucky to have me because no one else will choose you." That statement is not about love. It's about control. It's about making you doubt your value so you'll feel like leaving isn't an option. A loving partner builds you up and reminds you of your worth. A manipulative partner tears you down and convinces you that your worth doesn't exist outside of them. That is the core of manipulation through insecurity. This tactic works slowly. The first time you hear it, you may get angry and fight back. But if it happens again and again, the words start to sink into your subconscious. You may begin to question yourself. Am I really good enough? Maybe I am too difficult. Maybe no one else would accept me. And once those thoughts take root, the manipulator has gained power. They've convinced you to stay, not because of love, but because of fear. Fear of being alone, fear of being unwanted, fear of not being enough. That is the goal of manipulation, to create fear so strong that you stop trusting yourself. And once you stop trusting yourself, you give that power to the other person. You let them decide your worth. You let them decide your options. You let them control your life. But here is the truth they don't want you to see: you are not hard to love. You are not unworthy. You are not destined to be unwanted. Their words are lies designed to shrink your confidence so that you remain within their grasp. In reality, the only reason someone would say, "Nobody else will want you," is because they are terrified that others would. They know you have value, they know others would see it, and they know if you realized it yourself, you would no longer tolerate their mistreatment. So they try to blind you with insecurity before you can open your eyes to the truth. Imagine this: a healthy relationship is built on encouragement. A partner who truly loves you will say, "You are amazing, and I'm so lucky to have you." They will want you to feel confident because they know that confidence makes the relationship stronger. Manipulators do the opposite. They destroy your confidence because the weaker you feel, the stronger their grip becomes. That is not love, it's emotional imprisonment. The saddest part is that many people stay in relationships because these words convince them they had no choice. They settle for pain because they were told no one else would ever love them. But the reality is, the moment you walk away from that manipulation, you open yourself to healthier love, deeper respect, and true happiness. The words, "Nobody else will want you," are not a reflection of your worth. They are a reflection of his fear, his insecurity, and his desperate attempt to keep control over you. So the next time you hear words like this, don't internalize them. Recognize them for what they are: manipulation through insecurity. And remember this: you are not defined by someone else's opinion of you. You are defined by your own worth, your own value, and the truth that you deserve love that uplifts, not love that imprisons. If he says, "Nobody else will ever want you," don't waste time trying to prove him wrong. Prove yourself right by leaving and choosing a life where your worth is celebrated, not diminished. One of the clearest signs of a toxic and dangerous relationship is when someone hurts you, whether emotionally, mentally, or physically, and then tries to justify it by saying, "You deserved what happened." These are some of the most poisonous words you can ever hear, because they don't just reveal disrespect, they reveal a complete lack of accountability. And when accountability is absent, abuse thrives. Let's understand what is really happening here. When he says, "You deserved it," he is shifting the blame. He is removing responsibility from himself and placing it on you. Instead of acknowledging that he caused harm, he convinces you that it was your fault. This is a dangerous cycle because once you start believing that you are the cause of the mistreatment, you stop resisting it. You stop holding him accountable. And slowly, you accept abuse as if it is normal. This is how abusers work. They don't always control with their hands, they control with their words. By saying, "You deserved it," they rewrite the story in your mind. They turn themselves into the victim and you into the guilty one. It's a psychological trick designed to keep you silent. Because if you feel guilty, you won't speak up. If you think it's your fault, you won't walk away. And that silence is exactly what keeps the abuse alive. But here is the truth: no one ever deserves to be hurt. Not for making a mistake, not for having an opinion, not for disagreeing, not for being human. Love does not punish. Love corrects with kindness. Love communicates with respect. Love seeks to heal, not to harm. So the moment someone tries to justify their cruelty by telling you that you brought it upon yourself, you must recognize that this is not love. It's abuse wearing the mask of justification. Think about it. If you accidentally said something that hurt your partner's feelings, would you expect them to insult you back? Would you expect them to harm you physically? No. A healthy partner would talk, explain, and work toward understanding. They would never punish you. But an unhealthy partner uses your mistakes, or even things that weren't mistakes at all, as excuses to release their anger and then disguise it as your responsibility. The most tragic part of this manipulation is that it slowly erodes your self-worth. Over time, you begin to believe the words. You start thinking, maybe I did deserve it. Maybe if I were better, kinder, quieter, or more perfect, he wouldn't treat me this way. That is the trap. Because no matter how much you change, no matter how much you try to be better, the abuse will not stop. Why? Because the abuse was never about you. It was always about him. It was about his need for power, his inability to control himself, and his lack of respect for you as a human being. When someone says, you deserved what happened, what they are really saying is, I refuse to take responsibility for my actions. I want to continue hurting you without feeling guilty, so I will make you carry the blame instead. That is not love, and it will never become love. You must understand this clearly. Staying after hearing those words is not just dangerous for your heart. It is dangerous for your entire life, because words like this almost always escalate. What starts as emotional abuse often grows into physical abuse, and what begins as small justifications quickly becomes bigger ones. The longer you stay, the more normal it begins to feel. That is how abuse traps you, by slowly convincing you that mistreatment is deserved. But you are not guilty. You are not responsible for someone else's cruelty, and you never deserve abuse in any form. The moment you hear those words, don't debate them, don't justify them, don't hope they will change, leave immediately. Because someone who can justify hurting you today will only find more reasons to hurt you tomorrow. One of the most damaging things a partner can say is, if you don't do what I say, I'll leave you. On the surface, this may sound like just an angry statement, but beneath it lies a much deeper truth. It reveals a relationship built on control, not on love. Love is about freedom, respect, and choice. But when someone begins to attach conditions and ultimatums to their presence in your life, what they are really saying is, this relationship exists only on my terms, not on ours. Ultimatums are not love, they are control. They are meant to force compliance, not encourage compromise. In a healthy relationship, partners may disagree, argue, or even face tough decisions, but solutions are found through conversation and mutual respect. When someone says, do this or I'll leave you, they are not inviting a conversation, they are forcing submission. It is not about what's best for the relationship. It's about what gives them power. Think about it. Love that comes with conditions is not love at all. It's a transaction. It's a deal where one person holds all the cards and the other is left feeling like they must constantly perform or else lose everything. This creates an atmosphere of fear instead of trust, and anxiety instead of safety. A partner should never feel like they are walking on eggshells, constantly terrified that one wrong move will cost them the relationship. That isn't partnership, that's control disguised as affection. Ultimatums also reveal something deeper about the person, giving them insecurity. Why does someone use threats instead of honest communication? Because deep down, they fear losing power. They fear that if they allowed freedom and equality, they would no longer be in control. So instead of building trust, they use fear as their weapon. Instead of inspiring loyalty, they demand obedience. Now, let's imagine the opposite. In a healthy relationship, when a problem arises, both people come together to solve it. For example, if one partner feels neglected, they don't say, if you don't change, I'm leaving. Instead, they say, I feel hurt and I'd like us to work on this together. That is love. It communicates. It seeks understanding. It asks for change without threatening abandonment. That is how true relationships grow stronger. But when threats are used, growth is impossible. Instead of feeling secure, you feel trapped. Instead of growing closer, you grow more fearful. Over time, ultimatums chip away at your self-esteem. You start to believe that you are never good enough, that your partner's love is fragile, and that one wrong decision could take it all away. That is not how love should feel. Love should feel safe, steady, and dependable. The danger of staying in a relationship filled with ultimatums is that you slowly lose yourself. You begin making choices not because you want to, but because you are afraid not to. You stop listening to your own heart and start living under the shadow of someone else's demands. And once you lose that freedom, you also lose your peace. Remember this: a partner who truly loves you will never say, do what I want or I'll leave. They will say, let's find a way to make this work together. Love seeks compromise, not control. Love builds, it doesn't threaten. Love invites you in, it doesn't push you away when you disagree. So if you ever hear the words, I'll leave you if you don't do what I say, do not take them lightly. That is not just frustration. It is a warning sign. It is proof that this person values control more than connection and domination more than devotion. You deserve a love that doesn't make you afraid of loss every time you speak your truth. You deserve a love that welcomes freedom because freedom is where real love grows. And if someone uses ultimatums as a weapon, you must recognize it for what it is: manipulation. Love shouldn't come with ultimatums. And the moment it does, it is no longer love, it is control. That is your sign to walk away. One of the most painful things a person can ever hear from their partner is, I don't care about your feelings. Those words are not just a slip of the tongue, they are a declaration. They reveal the truth about how that person values you, your heart, and the relationship itself. Because at the core of every healthy relationship is one essential foundation: emotional respect. Without it, there is no love, only selfishness. When someone dismisses your feelings, they are essentially telling you that your pain doesn't matter, your joy doesn't matter, your fears don't matter, and your dreams don't matter. They are erasing your humanity in that moment. And the reality is, if your emotions don't matter to the person who claims to love you, then neither does the relationship. A partnership cannot survive when one side refuses to acknowledge the other's emotional reality. Let's look at this more deeply. Imagine you've had a tough day and you open up to your partner about it. Instead of listening, instead of showing care, they respond with, I don't care about your feelings. That's not just rejection, it's cruelty. It tells you that you are alone even while standing beside the person who promised to stand with you. Over time, these dismissals cut deeper than arguments or disagreements ever could, because arguments can be resolved, but the repeated message that your feelings don't matter slowly kills your sense of worth. When a man says, I don't care about your feelings, he is teaching you a lesson that in this relationship, only his emotions matter, only his voice matters, only his perspective matters. And that imbalance is not just unfair, it is toxic, because love is supposed to be a two-way street. It is supposed to create space for both partners to be seen, heard, and valued. Now, some people excuse this by saying, he didn't mean it, he was just angry. But anger doesn't create new truths, it only exposes hidden ones. Words spoken in anger often reveal what someone truly believes when the filters are gone. If he can so easily dismiss your feelings in the heat of the moment, then it means he doesn't truly value them in his heart. And here is why this is such a dangerous red flag. When your feelings are consistently dismissed, you stop expressing them, you stop opening up, you silence yourself to avoid being hurt. You start pretending that everything is fine, even when it isn't. And that silence is not peace, it's surrender. You've surrendered your voice, your needs, and your emotional freedom just to avoid rejection. That is not love, that is emotional imprisonment. True love looks very different. A loving partner doesn't always agree with your feelings, but they respect them. They may not fully understand your perspective, but they take the time to listen. They care enough to ask questions, to comfort, to validate your emotions, even if they don't share them. That's what partnership is about. Not agreement all the time, but respect all the time. So if he ever tells you, I don't care about your feelings, understand what he is really saying. I don't care about you, because your feelings are part of who you are. To dismiss them is to dismiss your very essence. And once someone shows you that disregard, it's a mistake to ignore it. You deserve a love that values your emotions. You deserve a partner who sees your tears and wants to understand them, who hears your laughter and wants to share in it, who feels your fears and wants to calm them. Anything less is not love. It is neglect disguised as a relationship. Dismissal of your feelings is not something to overlook. It is not something to wait out. It is not something to excuse. It is a deal breaker. And the moment you hear those words, your heart is already telling you the truth. It's time to walk away. At the end of the day, the most important lesson in any relationship is this: never sacrifice your self-worth for the illusion of love. Too many people remain in toxic relationships because they confuse suffering with devotion, or they believe that endurance is proof of love. But true love does not require you to lose yourself. True love uplifts, it heals, it empowers. If the relationship you are in is destroying you, then it is not love, it is toxicity. And in such moments, choosing yourself is not selfishness, it is survival. Toxic love often disguises itself as passion. It convinces you that the roller coaster of highs and lows is normal, that the apologies after the hurt are genuine, and that the little crumbs of affection make up for the mountains of disrespect. But the truth is, healthy love is not confusing. Healthy love is steady, clear, and consistent. If you constantly have to question whether you are valued, whether you are respected, or whether you are safe, then you are not in love, you are in captivity. When a man repeatedly says words that belittle, control, or threaten you, he is showing you that his version of love is not about partnership, but about power. And here is the hard truth: if you continue to stay, you are silently agreeing that his treatment is acceptable. You may not realize it, but every time you allow disrespect to continue, you are teaching him that it is okay to hurt you. That is why valuing yourself worst always come before protecting a toxic relationship. Self-worth means understanding that you are enough as you are. It means refusing to believe lies like, nobody else will want you, or you're nothing without me. These are manipulative chains designed to keep you tied to someone who doesn't deserve you. Self-worth cuts those chains. It reminds you that you were whole before him, and you will be whole without him. One of the biggest fears that keeps people stuck in toxic love is the fear of being alone. But loneliness is not the enemy. Staying in a relationship where you are disrespected, unloved, and broken is far lonelier than walking away. Being alone gives you the space to heal, to rediscover yourself, and to create a life that reflects your true value. Staying in toxicity robs you of that chance. It's important to remember love should not cost you your peace, your dignity, or your identity. If you are constantly drained, silenced, or diminished, then what you are holding on to is not love, it is a prison. Self-worth gives you the courage to walk out of that prison and into freedom, even if it means walking alone for a while. And here's the beautiful thing: once you choose yourself, you make room for the right kind of love to enter. A love that encourages your growth, celebrates your individuality, and respects your feelings. A love that doesn't require you to shrink, but invites you to expand. That kind of love cannot exist when you are clinging to toxicity. It only appears once you let go. So if you ever find yourself in a situation where your heart is constantly broken by words like, I don't care about your feelings, you deserved what happened, or nobody else will want you, pause and remember this: your self-worth is greater than any toxic relationship. You were not put on this earth to be someone's punching bag, someone's possession, or someone's prisoner. You were put here to live fully, love freely, and be loved genuinely. Self-worth over toxic love is not just a choice, it is a declaration. It is you saying, I deserve better. I am enough, and I will no longer settle for anything less than respect and real love. Walk away from toxic love. Walk toward yourself, because at the end of the day, choosing you will always be the strongest, bravest, and most loving decision you can ever make.